Okay, greetings, my YouTube online holy community. I hope you're all doing well. Actually, I just finished uploading the first sermon I recorded exactly 1 month ago, and I hope some of you are getting the chance to see that first sermon. I think it was a little bit long. I don't think they will all be that long. I had to really challenge myself actually on that day. Put actually a lot of energy. I don't know if you could tell, but I was fully invested into that first video. And now I'm sitting down, I'm not standing, and I hope there's better lighting now for this second video. The title of this mini sermon, and it'll be shorter, is titled Hearing from God versus Taking Action. Hearing from God versus taking action. So you probably looked at the questions I put in the screen already, and I was one of those people who wished I could hear from God a little bit more frequently, and I became recently disappointed, and I asked God in my prayer life a little bit strongly. Actually, I was kind of demanding answers from Heavenly Father, my Creator. You say you would, help me. If you're my Father, why aren't you answering me, Hanan? That sort of demanding nature. I guess, some people say that you have the right to do that as a child of God. You can tell your father or mother, tell me the answer. And they should answer you, right? Am I right or wrong? Well, many times when I confronted God in my prayers, He was very quiet. If I was ever angry for God didn't give me the answer I wanted, I'm like, why didn't you answer me? I never really got some sort of special grace. Usually it was a very quiet response. I couldn't do anything about it. Was the usual response that I received from the Lord. Let me share with you a little bit my journey in trying to get answers from God, and where I am now and how I take action in my life. And this will be very, very brief, obviously. So thank you once again for joining me, and I hope these videos are useful. Please share with your friends and family if they are, and let me know in the comments. Everybody talk about comments, subscribe. Sounds so corny now to say that. Like, comment, subscribe. It sounds like a joke. Sounds corny. But I gotta say it, otherwise I'm not on YouTube. Okay, so I went through a time period, actually. This is actually very challenging in my life, where I began to empty myself way too much. I lived in South Korea for a couple years, studying in a cadet program, military academy, and at the same time theological seminary. It's a one-of-a-kind institution. You can only imagine being a theological seminary student while also a cadet. It's almost nearly impossible to survive. At least it was for me in that environment. I did it for 2 full years in a different country, South Korea. And despite the differences in lifestyle compared to the USA, where I live now in the USA, one thing I learned from the Korean culture was that Buddhism and other Oriental traditions are practiced more over there, such as Taoism as well. Taoism, and without getting too philosophical, something that they believe in the East, in the Far East, is something about emptiness and a lot of mindfulness, and sort of not being overly involved or taking control of your life and letting letting the wind take you. Actually, there are a number of YouTubers who talk about this. They call it non-action Wu Wei. If you really want to look it up, those of you who are interested. I warn you though, don't get caught up in it because it's not that effective. It wasn't for me. W-U-W-E-I, Wu Wei. It's a Oriental thought from Taoism originally. Also Buddhists practice that. And you're supposed to just not do anything and just really not take any action and just really be quiet and like meditate and like see where the wind takes you. But I did that because I thought I had some issues in my life and I needed some solutions, but I couldn't find it. Like I tried to move really quickly and it didn't give me the answers I wanted. So I thought, hey, maybe I'm moving too fast. So I meditated for many long, not many long hours, but actually for a long period of time, and I became kind of too quiet, and that didn't work. I practiced it actually for many years. Actually, I'd say almost 7 years. I was a little bit too meditative. So then I had to find a different way to seek answers and to hear from God. So emptiness and like emptying myself too much didn't work. Then I thought, maybe I just gotta like talk with God one-on-one as if he were my friend, right? As if he were like maybe next to me, you know, maybe like on my good shoulder, on my good side, you know, my good angel God. Maybe I could do that sort of analogy and that imaginative conversation. And that didn't work too much because, and this is the reason why I want to do this sermon. I think it'll help many people if they're listening out there. You know, I was confused to know the difference of what was my thought versus the truth, the absolute truth. And there's a big difference between what I'm thinking on my own and what the absolute truth is. There's a book that I've been studying for a while now. It's called Divine Principle, and in the first chapter of creation, it talks about the human being. We have two aspects: internal, external. And in the internal nature, we have two more levels, right? So we say we have a spiritual body. Human beings have a spiritual body. And the spiritual body has a spiritual mind, which is what we call in Divine Principle like the centerpiece, the highway of communication, like the direct link of communication with God. And so, strictly speaking, in Divine Principle terms, this theology I began to study, even if I were to have a one-on-one talk with God through my spirit mind, it's not the absolute truth of God speaking to me, but it's my way of listening to God speaking. Does that make sense? In other words, many times when I prayed, whether I was speaking out loud or whether I was writing a letter to God, or whichever way I was trying to communicate with my Father in heaven, and Heavenly Mother too, I believe God is masculine and feminine. I often wondered, okay, now I'm hearing God say something to me, but is that me thinking or is that God talking? You see, that was the issue. And after many years now, I come to realize that it's never, I can never take my thoughts as the absolute truth. And I hope the same for you. If you ever find yourself praying or seeking answers or speaking to your heavenly parent, now you have to be careful who you speak with, because that's why when having a prayerful moment, sometimes we channel the wrong energy. Be very careful who you're speaking with, right? You have to always channel good energy. That's why we speak with saints like Jesus Christ, Prophet Muhammad, and the good saints. You know, you can't just talk to anybody, you know. So, Anyway, time went on. I tried to develop my own way of seeking answers, and the conclusion was that it was never very easy for me to find the answers I needed.